in just a minute. But Sarah, Tom Brady, with a lot of time on his hands, as Steve Wyche alluded to a little earlier, what's on deck for him as he prepares for his 10th Super Bowl?
Look, when you have a Super Bowl at home, that could make for a lot of distractions, but not when you are apparently at Tom Brady's house. Brady told us today that his wife and kids left town 6 days ago and that they won't come back to town until Saturday. That means that he says he has more time to prep than he has ever had before. He said it's more time to study, more time to watch film, and more time to process things. His offensive coordinator, Byron Leftwich, told us that Tom is the kind of player that wants to get his hands on as much information as possible. Now, I mentioned Giselle and the kids are going to come back to town on Saturday. So will Tom's parents. They have only seen their son play in one game in person this year. They came here and watched when the Saints were in town taking on the Bucs, and that was the Bucs' worst loss of the entire year. Now, of course, a redemption could be right around the corner because I'm sure all would be forgiven if they are hoisting a Lombardi on Sunday night. And don't worry about the Brady family. When they all get to town, there's plenty of room. He's renting Derek Jeter's mansion that is 22,000 square feet on the water. So plenty of space for everyone to spread out, MJ.
Yeah, just a casual, modest, multi-million-dollar mansion for everybody to huddle up in. All right, Omar, let's get over to you in KC. Some concerns here for the Chiefs, including some COVID-19 designations. What are you hearing from Chiefs camp?
Yeah, backup center Daniel Kilgore and receiver Demarcus Robinson have been placed on the COVID-19 list, although our Ian Rappaport reports that neither has tested positive for COVID-19. Instead, they're considered close contacts, which means if they continue to test negative, they could play on Super Bowl Sunday. Travis Kelce saying he couldn't imagine not being able to play in the Super Bowl because of COVID. So he's certainly hopeful that his guys get back in time. Now, this Kilgore status complicates an already depleted offensive line situation for the Chiefs after left tackle Eric Fisher tore his Achilles in the AFC Championship game. Mike Remmers, who was filling in at right tackle for the injured Mitchell Schwartz, will now move over to left tackle. So this is a situation that the Chiefs have really been dealing with all year, that offensive line shuffle that will now continue into the Super Bowl as they get ready to face Tampa Bay's ferocious front seven.
Oh, still this matchup gives me goosebumps, but you guys have it for a different reason. 25 degrees in KC, about 50 in Tampa. Not what we expected. You two go get warm. We'll see you the rest of the week. Appreciate you both. All right, the Chiefs looking to put a definitive stamp on their Run It Back tour. The NFL has not had a repeat champion since 2003-2004 Patriots' longest drought in NFL history. Tom Brady trying to keep that marker for himself. Patrick Mahomes trying to turn Chiefs Kingdom into Chiefs Dynasty. So MJD, David, and LT, come on in here. So over the past couple of weeks, we've touched on how these two teams will have to outduel, outplay, outmatch the other one. But let's start with the defending champs. What will the toughest obstacle be to repeat a Super Bowl here for the Chiefs, David?
Well, first you have to beat them. So that is one thing that would stop them from repeating. But I think when you look at it, you have to look at how do you do that? You have to outscore them. I don't think you can go into this game and say, we're just going to play keep away. I was talking to my brother Derek about this same thing. They scored 40 points, were able to beat the Chiefs in the regular season, and they didn't go in with the mindset of run the football, keep it away from Patrick Mahomes. So how do you do that? How do you outscore him? Well, I think you got to get some pressure on Pat Mahomes. And really for me, Omar Rees touched on it, and he talked about the Chiefs' offensive line issues. I think they were bouncing around trying to move guys around, and it was working. And now that Eric Fisher is out, I think that opens a big hole. I think you look at Shaq Barrett and JPP on the other side. These guys can literally change the entire course of this football game. So I think that's probably the biggest obstacle is that front. And if they can just rush forward, because they're going to have to use 2, 3, 4 guys on Travis Kelce, on Tyreek Hill, as far as the Bucs go. But if they can rush forward, they can get pressure on Pat Mahomes and stop the run there. I think that changes the game big time.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Dave. And that's something to look for early in the game. if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are getting pressure on Patrick Mahomes with just their front four, you know it's going to be a problem all game long, and it will bode well for Tampa Bay. I think the other thing that we need to keep in mind is at times the Chiefs have been on autopilot, right? Even in the playoffs where they get behind and then all of a sudden they hit the switch and they turn it on. I'm not so sure they can do that in this particular game. Remember, the first game that they played, the Chiefs only scored 7 points in the second half. The Buccaneers actually played really well in the second half. And so as football players, you guys know the confidence is there if you know that you have stopped this team and you have what it takes to stop them. So I believe, with that said, the Chiefs will have to get off to a good start in this football game.
I'm going to respectfully disagree with both you guys. I don't think there's a way the Chiefs stumble or not, to be honest with you. I mean, let's just go back to last year in the playoffs against the Texans. They were down 24-0, and they ran off and won. The Super Bowl last year, they were down to the Niners, who had a great running game and a great defense, and came back and won. And then the AFC Championship game against the hottest team in the NFL, the Buffalo Bills, you go down 9-0 and you run off 30 straight points. To me, they just have too much firepower, too much talent offensively. That puts too much stress on Tom Brady as an offense, having to have to score every play, and then that defense to have to play perfect every play. Now, let's be honest, the Bucs defense, will have this chat later. They've balled out this throughout the playoffs, but they balled out by playing strictly man-to-man coverage. Who are you going to lock up with Travis Kelce? Because he already beat Tre'Davious White. Who are you going to lock up with Tyreek Hill? Those are the questions that you have to ask. I just think the Chiefs have too much firepower.
Guys, earlier we were talking about what Sarah Walsh just told us, and Tom Brady having all of this time to sort of study the game, maybe getting his head. And LT, when I spoke with McCole Hardman earlier on the NFL IG page, he said exactly what you did. There is such thing about over-preparing. He says that for them, they just need to stay focused, do what they do best to go out and make sure that they become back-to-back champions. All right, guys, thank you. And listen, I know we're all watching from home this year, but you can still feel like you are there. Control your Super Bowl fan experience live from up to 7 camera angles. All of this with Verizon 5G Super Stadium that's in the NFL app. This is available to iPhone 12 users right now. We have some very special guests all this week on NFL Total Access. Tuesday, Hurts so good because Jalen Hurts is here. Will a new head coach mean a new direction in Philly? Plus, no one has better access, total access to Super Bowl 55 than our own 55, Willie McGinnis, who will have daily reports live from Tampa. Wednesday, we'll be joined by